Hi, I am Becky Meagher and welcome to Transitions, Body, Mind, Spirit. Transitions, we've all been through so many transitions in our life. And I like to use the metaphor of triathlon, something I just did 3 days ago, matter of fact. Triathlons, first you're in the swim, and then you get in the transition area, and then you get on your bicycle and do something totally different, and then you get into the transition area again, and then you run. And it's a great metaphor for how we handle our life. We go from one thing to another, and things happen in our lives that can change our lives totally and blindside us often. And we have a very, very interesting guest today who is a medical doctor, but she is going to talk to you all about how her life has really, really changed with an incident that happened to her. And from that, she has written a novel about it as what am I saying? Something that makes her feel better. So I want to welcome Nicole Kelly. Nicole Kelly, this is her book. We'll have a better shot of it. And Nicole Kelly, thank you for being here. Tell us a little bit about what happened to you, the incident, and how with sociopaths now you know what they are, you were blindsided, and now it's kind of become something that you're very interested in and are helping other people with.
Absolutely. So several years ago, there was a nurse who worked for me, and she was very charismatic. She's the life of the party. She has lots of groupies who follow her around like puppy dogs.
Oh.
Just a magnetic personality. And she befriended me and was telling me, oh, you know what? Everything would work a lot better if I were doing the billing. I should be doing the billing, and at the same time she's saying everything nice to me, being like, oh, let's go shopping, and basically mirroring back anything that I wanted to see in a person, which I didn't realize at the time. It was something I figured out much later on. And for me, what I really enjoy doing is seeing patients, talking to families, and the business side is really not my forte, not my interest. And she said I was going to save a lot of money if I let her do the billing, and so I did.
Do the billing. Is that handling the money part for your practice?
Handling the money part for the practice.
Okay.
And she kept, telling me how wonderful everything was going, and all this type of stuff. And as time went on, people would actually say to me, something's weird about her. What's up with her? You need to check into this. And I actually would defend her like a bulldog. I'm like, no. She is my friend, and she is loyal to me.
Oh.
And it isn't until after the fact I realized that she actually had fed that to me. That, oh, I'm so loyal to you. I'm so loyal to you. All those other people may say whatever, but I'm so loyal to you.
So she was manipulating
Absolutely.
You, and you didn't even recognize it.
Nope. I had no idea. In a way, I didn't want to, because she would tell me all the stories of her life, which was kind of crazy and kind of fictionalized, but in the novel here. And I don't know, my life just seemed much more exciting than it had before, listening to her stories and her crazy shenanigans. And it wasn't until several years later that I found out, no, she had been embezzling hundreds of thousands of dollars from my medical practice.
Good heavens, that is huge.
She had been lying to me and just basically gaslighting me for years. And she was doing all this while she was on the Ashley Madison Cheaters website.
Tell us, what does that mean, Cheaters website?
So it's a dating site where married people go to meet other married people to cheat.
Okay.
Yeah. And she actually was dating 5 different married men at the same time without any of them knowing about the other ones, including her husband.
So she was married and would only date married men,
Right.
But the other married men didn't even know.
Right.
Wow.
Right.
Okay.
Yep.
Oh. So then, did you confront her?
Yeah, when I finally figured it out that basically she had been lying to me all of this time. I actually tried to sue her. I mean, I fired her first, then I tried to sue her, and I had a very strong case.
I would think so.
The lawyers were very much so thought that I would win in the end. However, they said in cases like these, it's 6 figures to make it to the end of the law case, which could be 2 years, and she spent the money already. So she'll declare bankruptcy. I will get no money because the bank gets their money first, and you know, I'm left with a hollow victory and nothing to show for it. So that's when I decided, you know what, I need to look at my own self-care, and I started writing. So I started writing the stories that she had told me, and the more I wrote, the more I realized that there's a pattern here. That, I mean, in medical school we learned about psychopaths and sociopaths, but the main focus was on the psychopath. So that's the person who scores high on the Hare psychopathic checklist, and those are the people that we usually think of: the Hannibal Lecter, the serial killer, the person with the lettered tattoos, or the you know, the people in jail committing arson, torturing animals. But what we don't think about, which wasn't focused on in med school at all, is the usually, they can be violent, but usually non-violent sociopath that are rampant in our society.
Rampant in our society. That's kind of a scary thought, isn't it?
Yep. It's actually estimated as many as 1 in 25 people fall on the sociopathic psychopathic spectrum.
Wow. And that, when I think of sociopath, I think of someone who has no conscience.
Right. That's exactly
really,
right.
is
No
not
empathy.
Empathetic.
Yep.
And but can pretend they are to befriend you, to manipulate you.
Exactly. They are the ultimate chameleon. So they are very, very good in getting their group of their groupies, their puppy dogs, because to each person they will reflect back what you want to see, with false flattery, with whatever they elicit from you, what's important to you, and then what's important to you they reflect back. Oftentimes they'll start with a completely fabricated lie to make you think that they're exposing something about themselves.
To build trust.
Right, and so that you expose something else, and really they're checking off vulnerabilities, things they can use later. Because to the sociopath, the whole world is a game. And people are just pawns to be manipulated for their own personal gain.
So when you confronted this woman, was there any remorse, or was it total denial? Or
that's the thing about sociopaths. They believe nothing is their fault. They immediately play the victim. So the fact that she stole all this money was my fault. She was doing me a favor.
What?
I know, it doesn't make any sense, but that is really how they think. It is not their fault, and the victim, it's their fault. They should have been, you know, not taken advantage of, or, you know, I was helping them by being in their life at all.
Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Well, let's circle back. The novel that you have written, basically it is set in Nashville, and you are a Southern woman. You have been raised in the South, right?
Yes,
Probably.
personally. Although the main character of the novel is Nashville Kitty, who is based on this real-life Nashville Kitty who stole money. So I am not the main character by any means. What she believes is definitely not what I believe.
Right.
But my thinking was, if people can get inside the mind of a sociopathic sex addict, and they can understand how they think, then we can help protect ourselves from being taken advantage of.
Okay. Now let's talk about it, the sociopathic, but when you add the sex part, so that's a whole other hybrid thing, right? I mean,
right.
Well, tell us about that. What does that mean?
So sociopathic sex addict, or a sexopath, is sociopaths in general are very prone to addictions. And part of this is, if you think about it, I mean, most of us are, when we're empathetic, we're thinking about, oh, you know, I wonder if so-and-so is mad at me, or I wonder if I've done enough for my kids, or, oh, you know, we spend so much time thinking about empathetic things, and the sociopath doesn't do that. I mean, they're easily bored. One of their big motivations is boredom prevention. They can't stand to be bored. So, I mean, for them, it's just all about manipulating and, you know, using the world as pawns for themselves.
And this particular woman was married, and then particularly chose to be with married people, which I don't quite understand. Is that because they don't want to commit, they don't want on emotion? So if they're
Well, she felt that if someone was married, because she loves her husband, she says. I mean, in reality, sociopaths are not capable of empathetic love as we are. And they may call it love, and Eskimos have 32 different words for love. So I'm not saying maybe there's not some type, but the empathetic soul connection that the rest of us are able to experience, they're incapable of it. But she liked her setup. I mean, her husband does everything for her. Does her laundry, cooks her meals, provides her money. I mean, everything is taken care of by her husband. So she did not want to jeopardize her perfect little situation, but yet she saw danger in multiple affairs just for excitement. So she thought that if she only went out with married men, they have something else to lose.
they have something to lose.
Right. So they won't be thinking that they can somehow jeopardize her situation. It actually happened, and I have some of the fictionalized, of course, episodes in the book where you know, the wife found out, was at her doorstep, and you know, they were dead to her. And that's part of the sociopath thing too, is once they've used someone, if that person is no longer useful to them, done.
That's it.
Discard. Done with that.
Wow.
There were several men like that where when they were, you know, getting too close, she cut them loose.
Cut them loose.
Yep.
Wow. Scary thing. So now that this I guess your life savings kind of got whittled down because of this woman, and you felt like, okay, well, I'll sue, but that's not going to get anywhere. And then the next part was, well, you are a writer and you've started several books, but this is the first book you actually finished, right?
I know. Because I had started multiple books on different medical topics, and this was the first one that I actually finished. And part of it was just a drive to, you know, therapy to get over what had happened and to try to figure out how I could have been so gullible to have trusted her for all those years, but also to educate people. Because 1 in 25 people are sociopaths, and most of us don't even know what they are.
Right.
I mean, sociopaths are running our country, our companies, our churches, and yet we're none the wiser of it.
Wow.
I mean, imagine how different our world would be if empathetic people were running it.
Well, can you say, like, some people of history that we may be familiar with that were that way, that you can say, maybe they're passed away or something, that you go, oh yeah, they didn't have a conscience. Hitler is the first one, but who
Absolutely,
else?
absolutely. I mean, there's actually a very interesting study that's been done about presidents. I actually was thinking, I mean, my second book, I'm doing the nonfiction book, Sociopathic Sex Addict, How to Spot a Sexual Predator. But a third book I thought about doing is one comparing two of our most recent potentially sexopaths. And I haven't, you know, personally examined them, so I'm not here to diagnose. But if you go down the sexopath spotting tool, they definitely check a lot of the boxes. But I think it would be interesting to compare Bill Clinton and Donald Trump, because both of them have so many of the characteristics of a sexopath.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it's not party driven, it's genetics. So.
So you're saying that somebody can be this way and get to be president of the United States?
Absolutely. In fact, they would say it helps them because they don't have the, you know, remorse, guilt, or held back by empathy to step on whomever they need to step on to get there.
And then you have a, I guess you do have a website, right? Is this is a Do You Know a Sexopath? Glimpse Behind the Mask, a sexopath spotting tool. And it kind of outlines the various things that you can see with somebody that is a predator. And the thing is, it sounds like some of them are so charming.
Absolutely. That's what makes them so dangerous.
Wow. Wow. And so at this point in time, you are blossoming into a novelist, and then you have another book that you've written that's also going to come out.
Hopefully in October.
Okay. And tell us about that one.
So I wrote the novel, and with the hope of educating people by letting them get inside the mind of a sexopath. But, I mean, it's written first person. The narrator is Nashville Kitty. She has the personality disorder, so her description kind of misses a lot of the points you need to get to the general public to understand who these people are. So that's when I started realizing I need to write a nonfiction book. And it's not for the medical community. It's specifically for the public, written in a way that they can understand. My goal is by the end of that, you're going to understand there are people who do not think like you, who do not have empathy, no guilt, no remorse, no worry, no anxiety. I mean, there's
something attractive about having no anxiety, but then I don't know.
Right. Well, they think they're better than us.
Ah.
I mean, they think that their neurologic makeup is an improvement, and that if everybody were like them, well, then they would have no one to manipulate. But they think the world's better off because they rule it.
I see. Wow. And then how can one look for this? I mean, are you thinking that it could be your father, or it could be, doesn't have to be your husband, it could be your aunt, or
right.
How do you deal with that? It's a relative. I mean, you can't divorce the relative, right?
I mean, that's absolutely true. And really, I mean, I think it's time to open up a discussion to what do we do about this. I mean, the first step is recognition, because most people don't even recognize that these type of people exist. But I think we're going to need to figure out, I mean, what are we going to do with sociopaths and psychopaths? They're not playing by the same rules. There's no transparency. They're not being held accountable. I mean, something needs to change. So I'm hoping this is going to start generating that conversation and discussion.
The woman who you wrote the book basically about, that spurred you to do that, and you do it from a first-person angle of her, and I just read your book, her describing these different trysts with different people and all that. I would read it and go, how can somebody do this? And this is for real? People really are like this, that they just go out and the minute somebody gets close, they disappear.
Right.
The woman that did you wrong, so to speak, what is she doing today?
Well, so the end of the book was definitely fictionalized, and kind of my personal, gosh, if things had turned out differently, it would have ended this way. But really nothing happened to her. So as far as I know, her husband still has no idea. She's still, with chain reaction. She's hasn't been caught. She's now doing billing for another medical group.
So she's out there possibly doing the exact same thing, stealing hundreds of thousands of dollars from the other medical group. Nobody knows any different.
Right.
But you are out here saying things, okay? So
the names are changed. It's been fictionalized.
Right, the names are changed and all that. But I would think that somebody would call for a reference. I mean, you can't possibly.
I don't think she'd list me as a reference.
Wow, wow. Well, back to when you first began, when you were thinking like in high school about being a medical doctor and all that, did you think about going to psychology?
Actually, yes, I was very interested in psychiatry. It was actually in medical school when I realized that the way it was set up now, and it's kind of different now than it was, this is over 20 years ago now, but psychiatry, it was mainly just pushing pills when I was in med school, deciding what I wanted to do. And you didn't really get to talk to people and do the psychology type of therapy part. So I ended up not going that way, although I do psychiatry every single day in my practice. So it's a very useful and important field.
And little did you have any idea that down the
Nope.
It's amazing the twist of the transition in your
transitions,
life
yeah.
when somebody steals all this money and then you change and write books about it, and you're going to be, well, I guess this is your first public on camera.
It is. This is my first TV interview.
Yes, but I understand there's the big time out there that maybe you'll be out there.
Yep. Nashville Kitty is going to be given to all the nominees of the Golden Globes.
Really?
Yep. And going to New York City, and a whole bunch of TV producers and media want to discuss the book and sociopathy, especially with Me Too. And, a lot of the Me Too movement is focused on just male perpetrators, but I mean, as I discovered, they can be women too. So I think that's an important point that isn't being talked about.
Women perpetrators, right, that don't have a conscience.
Right.
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 And some of the Me Too, the notorious Me Too men, now I just...
Weinstein, I mean, you could just check off the boxes.
Right. That just dawned on me right sitting here. Yeah, there you go.
Yep. Right.
So people just didn't even, you just get blindsided. And it is a power thing too, isn't it?
Absolutely. Because lots of times it's about power and control.
Power and control.
The hunt is better than the kill, where they're just trying to see if they can manipulate and use, I mean, Me Too, it's mainly women, and then discard them when they're done.
That's heartless, right?
Heartless, yep.
But when you start using sociopath and all that, you do think of the person in prison and the one torturing animals, and but there's a whole other side, the more refined.
Exactly.
Right.
Exactly. And those people are often very successful, and CEOs of companies and heads of churches, and in government. Our politicians, I mean, some have said you have to be a sociopath to make it in politics.
Wow.
So
tell us about the church angle. You do mention some church type things in your novel.
Well, I thought that was a very important point to make. And that, my relationship with God is very important to me. But Nashville Kitty, not only does she have no relationship with God, but she actually believes she is a God.
She believes she is a God,
yes,
okay.
And that she is manipulating all the people and getting all the pawns to move in the way that she wants to move, and she believes they're better for it.
Aha, so there's that narcissistic...
Absolutely. And that's part of sociopathy, is narcissism. So a lot of people get that confused, is if you're a sociopath, you've got narcissism. If you're a narcissist, you may or may not be a sociopath, but all sociopaths are narcissists.
Okay, and narcissist is someone who just thinks about themselves.
Right.
That's all.
Well, and think they're superior. There's a superiority.
I'm better than everybody else.
Yes, and it should be about me.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, and the sociopath believes that.
Yes.
Plus.
Right.
They have no heart.
Right. Exactly. No conscience. They don't have that little voice that we have. I mean, if we hurt someone, I mean, we'll sit around thinking about it. Oh, I've done this, and nope, they don't have that. Go to sleep. They're not having any trouble sleeping after doing evil things.
Doing evil things. Oh, wow. Wow, frightening thought. Wow. And the other part of this is because this woman stole, but she has changed your life. Because you've changed from one path and veered off into a whole other path. And did you ever think that you'd be writing a novel?
Never. I really did. Well, that's not true. I mean, I had started some young adult novels, went on A Dragon Egg, and all sorts of totally different. I never thought I'd be writing a novel like this, that's for sure.
How long did it take you to write this?
2 years.
2 years. Okay. And changing a little thing here, and
her own mother would not recognize her.
Okay. Meaning her own mother doesn't realize she's the way she is?
Yeah, that's probably true too.
Ah,
Yeah.
yeah. So you had to have to be a little careful on, you don't want to get sued, and but you want to explain uh, eh, what somebody like this is like, and it's a real thing.
Right.
I mean, you experience one, but multiply that. If you say 1 out of 26 people is that
25,
way?
yeah. 4% of the population.
4% of the population.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
That means most of us run into a sociopath every single day and just don't even realize it.
So, the essence of, okay, you run into a sociopath. Give me the minute spiel. Like, what do you do?
I mean, the safest thing is avoidance. The safest thing is, if you suspect someone is a sociopath, you know, at least don't expose your heart, your family, or your money to them. I mean, and if you catch someone in multiple lies, your sociopathic antenna needs to be up, because I mean, somebody may tell a lie, or they may, whatever, once or twice or whatever. But if it's a serial thing, because the lie is their weapon of choice.
The lie is a weapon of choice.
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, they lie as easily as they breathe. In fact, they can even beat a polygraph machine, because they don't get the telltale signs of increased heart rate or blood pressure or perspiration. It just doesn't affect them.
Wow. And you feel that they were born this way?
Well, I mean, it's probably a combination of genetics and environment. Mm-hmm. There is definitely a genetic component. It runs in families. They've done twin studies and found that identical twins who have exactly the same genes are much more likely to both be sociopathic than fraternal twins who don't have the exact same genes. But, I mean, if you're raised in an environment with, verbal, physical abuse, you are more likely for that sociopathic side to be more expressed. May even, go more to the psychopathic side. There's actually a theory, too, that it's not even family dependent, it's cultural.
Wow.
Because in the West, there are a lot more sociopaths than in the East. And in the West, sociopaths rise to power.
Huh. I'll be darned. Wow.
Yep.
Well, I want to thank you. It's Nicole Kelly, MD. We will put your website on our credits. And for a real interesting novel, something that you may not know about, I must say, it's Shades of Nashville, Sociopathic Sex Southern Style. A very interesting novel. And then stay tuned for her, it's not going to be a novel, it'll be what do we call that?
Nonfiction.
A nonfiction book coming out. And thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
We learned a lot. Thank you.